Chapter 4. Stories from some who have had near-death experiences. These are stories from an array of normal people. They aren't selected to show the best stories about the description of what happens on the other side, but just a random selection of what some people feel. You'll see, I believe, that these are just normal people, and it is the accumulation of these stories which really tell the big story. At age 8, my father took me and my two brothers, ages 10 and 11, to go fishing in a river called Rio Guaba in Porto Alegre, Brazil. It was a hot day and very sunny. When we got there, my father was setting up camp when we asked him if we could walk up the river a bit. At first he said no, but after we begged a little bit, he agreed, and he told us not to go in the water. He said that a few times. We started to walk near the water, and we got to this bush that was half in the land and half on the water. I don't remember which of us had the idea to go in the water grabbing the bush to get to the other side. My brother Marco, age 10, went first. He took a few steps, and I don't remember well how he lost his footing, but he did. He went under. Then my older brother Carlon tried to help him and went under also. I don't know why, but I went after them. Note, we don't know how to swim. I started to panic. I was really scared. I remember trying to breathe, but I couldn't. Water was going in instead. There was no more oxygen. I remember moving my arms and legs frantically, trying to save my life. I remember my body hitting things underwater. I don't know what I was hitting, but it was painful. That day the river was moving fast from west to east toward the ocean. I don't know how much time went by, but I couldn't move anymore. I just remember floating underwater, and I hit bottom. The water was brown, and I couldn't see anything. I knew I was dying, and I screamed, "Please, God, help me." My mom used to take me to church. I don't know how, but I knew that God was the only one that could help me. That was when I felt my life fading, and then I heard the most pleasing voice telling me to relax and that everything was going to be okay. I then felt this arm embracing me, and I knew it was a man, and he was very kind and gentle. I was so happy and confused at the same time. We were floating in midair, and then I realized that I was not dead, not yet anyway. I sensed that we were going up very fast. All my pains were gone, and I could breathe again. My body was not solid anymore. I could see right through it, but I could feel me. Then I saw that we were going toward this light, slowly at first. When we got close to the light just engulfed me. It was brighter than the sun, but it didn't hurt my eyes. The angel that was me said, "Ciao," and faded away. I was floating there for a moment thinking, what's happening? I was connected to everything, and everything was connected to me. Hard to explain. Then I felt I was not alone anymore. I could see the shape of a man coming closer. When he got close enough, I felt the most beautiful feeling of love and belonging. There's no words my human mind can say to describe this feeling. Sorry. Imagine yourself in an airplane, and the airplane blows up. Then you wake up, just a dream. Kind of like that. I was so happy I wasn't dead for real. But where am I? That place felt more real than this one. This angel, I'll call them angels, came closer to my right side and spoke to me, but his lips weren't moving. He was talking to my mind. I could hear him through my mind, being, and my soul. He told me that he was there to help me with my questions, and boy, did I have questions. But first he started to show me my life, like a movie, hard to explain. My life was going backwards, and I remember thinking, how bad can this be? I'm only 8 years old. The first image I saw was something bad that I did. I used a key to scratch a car. I could feel the pain that I caused because of my actions. And then I remember thinking, oh no, I'm in trouble. My angel surprised me by saying, don't worry, these are just lessons. I remember thinking, oh crap, he can read my mind too. He heard that too, and he gave me this lovely, beautiful smile. This movie was showing, second by second, my entire life. Everything I saw, I could feel the results of it. Like everything I did have a life of its own. Like when I felt the owner of the car's feelings and thoughts. Then he told his wife about it, and I could feel her pain too, and on and on. Not a good feeling. He didn't show me just the bad things I did. He showed me the things I did out of love too. He showed me the time I took this homeless boy I became friends with. I took him home with me. We showered together, we ate together, and I gave him some of my clothes too. I could feel how happy I made my angel feel. He told me that those are the things that really matter. Those were the things that will make a difference in the world for the better. As my life was going backwards, I saw me as a baby inside my mother, and then just as a molecule of life, really, really small, but alive. Today, when I see women have an abortion, I want to cry. They don't understand that God gave them this child for a reason, and that she was chosen by that life, the child. I don't know how, I just know that, I just do. Then the movie stopped, and he said 2 words, and everything I wanted to know was answered by it, like a package deal. All my questions were answered in an instant. Then I started to miss my life as I knew it. I started to think about my mother, and I could feel her pain when she heard the news that all her sons died. I knew my angel was showing me this because it wasn't my time. My mission wasn't done. What mission? I still don't know. I don't know how long all of this took. I don't have the sense of time anymore. But if I try, it will take years to show and tell everything. Anyway, I was missing my life, and I want to go back. I had flashbacks about playing soccer with my friend, being hugged by my mom, the sun, the rain, things that made me happy. I also knew my angel did this for a reason, because any sane person would not want to go back. I also realized for the first time how beautiful and fragile Earth really is. I could sense the Earth breathing like it was alive. I could see a light around everything that was alive, trees, flowers, grass, animals, volcanoes, and humans. I sensed that humans were in control over other living things. I have the word aura stamped in my mind ever since. Don't know why, but the angel told me not to tell anybody, and that time will reveal itself. I said, what? But then I felt a jolt in my soul, a feeling that I was back in my body. Next thing I know, I was being holded by another angel. He was pushing me out of the water. It was then I realized that I was human again. Oh my God, what a feeling. I wish I could make everyone feel that feeling. Then I felt like I was drunk. The first thing I saw was this beautiful blue sky, and I could breathe again. Then I realized, where are my brothers? I looked to my right, and there they were, walking out of the water with me. Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have tears in my eyes thinking about it. Our God and Father is so good to us. Then I saw people rushing toward us. Some were crying. Some were smiling and hugging each other. They felt happy as I did. Why? Then this police officer was talking on his radio, and he said, I found them. I found the kids. He told the others to come upriver. The other officers were looking for us downriver where they thought we were. After a couple of minutes, they got there and said, this can't be them. They couldn't survive 22 minutes underwater and talk about it. The medical personnel that was there agreed with them, and they all went back down to the river. I was trying to tell what happened, but I couldn't speak. I mean, my mouth was moving, but no sound. I looked up in the sky and said, please give me my voice back. I won't tell anyone. And I got my voice back. I got a little stutter today, but I don't care about that. For all I know, they're still looking for us. I don't know which is better, being back here or having the knowledge that we never die. Today, I take things as they come, and I try to do everything with love. But that sometimes is really hard because we live in a world of uncertainty. People don't know who God really is. They make it really hard for me to love them as I should, but I forgive them and love them on the inside, even though I don't show them sometimes. God knows what I mean. My brother and I never talked about this till Christmas of 2007, 38 years later. I asked Marco if he remembered anything. He told me that an angel asked him not to talk about it. A week went by, and I asked Carlon what happened. He said that we died and that an angel saved us. He said he also saw the movie. I don't know why, but we never got too deep on this conversation. I think we were scared that something would happen because we were asked not to. If you guys don't hear from me, you know why. As I get older, I have the urge to tell the world that God in heaven is very real. I have to be very responsible in talking about this. I don't feel that I am the one writing this, but my soul. I pray that one day the human race, the sons and daughters of God, will live on earth with love and peace that I felt and come to the realization that we are one. And the next story. My name is Dennis, and I am a Canadian living in Mexico. On June 22, 2008, I woke up in the morning with a cough and a feeling that I had not slept. I started to cough and felt a small pain in my chest. I thought that I had strained a muscle. I got out of bed and went to the washroom, and suddenly the pain in the chest became unreal. I started to panic but had no energy. I knew I was having a heart attack. I yelled to my friend downstairs that he should get up here, that something's happening to me. I told him to get an ambulance. As I was slipping fast, the pain was unbearable, and I slowly drifted to semi-awareness, hoping that he would call, even though he didn't speak any Spanish. A call was made to our neighbor, and the neighbor called another neighbor who spoke Spanish, and they got the ambulance to the house. Feeling terrified and so tired, the attendants started their checkup. Little had to be known, I was in a complete heart attack situation. They rushed me to the hospital that was nearby. I was put in emergency. The pain was hearty, and at this time I was hoping to die, this pain was so awful. I kept coming in and out, not knowing what was going on. Doctors doing tests and nothing being said to me. And then after a short time they put me in a private room, hooked me up to machines, intravenous, then the pain slowly went away. I was so happy. This is when, whatever it was that happened, I got out of bed, or so I thought, and looking back in the bed, I saw myself sleeping peacefully. I've never felt so peaceful in my life. I turned to the left, and there were many people I recognized, but they were all deceased. My parents, brothers, sisters, friends. It was just so I can't describe the feeling. And there was a barrier between us. We communicated, and I said I wanted to be with them. They all said no, not in words, but I knew I must return. It's not time yet. The next thing I remember were friends and doctors coming in the room to confirm that I just had a heart attack. And I said calmly, I know. Strange as it seems, I am no longer afraid of death. It is so calm. And the next story. On November 30th, 2007, my family was called to the hospital because they felt I would not live through the night. 3 days earlier, I had had gallbladder surgery, and from what my son tells me at the time of the call, my blood pressure was like 35/17. And when they got there, it was 17/0. One of my doctors told me when I was discharged that I had become severely dehydrated. My kidneys failed, and they thought that they were losing me. Anyway, I just remember being someplace dark and warm, a very cozy, loving place where my family members that had passed over before me were. My late husband and a few of his family members that I had been close to. My mom and grandparents that had passed on were there. It was a happy reunion to see them again and to feel their love. I remember another figure in this room, and he told me that it wasn't my time yet, that I needed to return to my body because I still had work to do in my life. The next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital room thinking they were putting rust in my arms. It turns out it was blood, but hey, my thoughts were really screwed up about now. I remember the next thing was going to have a CT scan, and on the way another patient had passed over, and they were trying to keep me from seeing them. I told the nurses I used to work in a hospital, so I knew what a dead person looked like. Later, when I got to my room again, I made a comment about it to my son, and he got all hyper about it and told me not to joke like that. I didn't understand why he said that until 2 days later when he and my aunt visited and they told me what had happened. I just know I was in a very loving, warm place, and that I really didn't want to leave, but I was told I had to come back, so I did. I no longer fear death itself, because I know what's on the other side now. And the next story. I'm a 45-year-old man now, but when I was 14, I was involved in a horrible car accident. I was hit by a panel truck, and I was on a bicycle crossing at a very busy intersection on Route 22 in North Plainfield, New Jersey. The exact date was Wednesday, January 18, 1978. And on this day, my life and my spiritualism had changed forever. I, as I said, was riding my bike across this intersection, and I was, as always, very careful to let all the cars go before I proceeded across the highway intersection. This day, however, something horrific would happen and cause me to experience what I did. First of all, prior to this day, I swear to you, I had never even heard anything about these so-called afterlife death experiences. So my experience was the first that I had known about. Also, I never once felt the need to tell people about this experience and try to get them to believe in what I was saying was true. I knew it was true. I knew that this was the realest thing that had ever happened to me, and I had always been a believer in God prior to this accident, but I believe God wanted me to experience this because all the family problems and the abuse I was going through at that time, and used my accident, I believe. God used my accident so that when my heart stopped and I was clinically dead, he could allow me to experience what he wanted me to understand. And that was the most precious and the most important experience of my life. So let me get back to the story. I'm sorry, but I first had to make sure everyone knew what was the beginning of my story. Well, okay, I found myself in that day crossing this highway intersection on my bike, and I remember proceeding from the corner of the curbing as I hadn't seen any more cars crossing over. Well, all I can remember was starting to ride my bike across the intersection. The next thing, I woke up in what was then Muhlenberg Hospital in Plainfield, New Jersey. I woke in the ICU with tubes hanging from me, and my left leg and hip being held in traction. My jaw was crushed, but so was my whole left side crushed. I was told by the police that when the truck hit me, he struck me on my left side and I was thrown 100 feet through the air. And I hit the divider in the center of the highway, rolled off into oncoming traffic, and the police were amazed that I wasn't run over a second or third time. Anyway, a young nurse got out of her car and ran over to me and put something under my head because I was losing so much blood. I wish I could thank her. God bless her for what she did for me. So again, I woke in the hospital ICU and was told I had been in a coma for the last 3 months. And my whole left side was paralyzed, and the doctors told my parents I'd never walk again. Well, they were wrong, because through my faith in God, I was able to walk again and do just about everything else again. But now my life, I'm having a lot of problems with my spine. Well, that's another story. As the ambulance was racing me to the hospital that day, I lost 8 pints of blood and my heart stopped. I had died for a few moments. I swear by the name of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that what I will now explain was the most realist experience of my life, and I feel so blessed having had this experience that it was worth the horrible accident I went through to experience what I saw. And as I said, this experience was the realest thing I've ever been through, more realer than my own name. All of a sudden, I guess after my heart had stopped, I remember walking in this very dark area. I remember crying out to God to please help me. Where am I, Lord? What happened? And as I tried to speak out to God, I found myself walking towards, and again, I had never heard anything close to this experience prior to my accident, this most magnificent wall of light. The light totally surrounded this wall, which was like a rectangular wall, but it was as if I was seeing the gate to eternity or heaven. But as I walked, or rather my feet weren't touching the ground, but something was just moving me ahead closer and closer to this great wall. And the closer I got to this great wall, I noticed the closer I had got, everything inside of me that was negative, or the things I was always terrified of, like my father abusing me at that time. Those things were lifted right out of the inside of my soul. I felt the most overwhelming amount of real love then that I had ever felt before. And I knew it was the Lord showing me his love he had for me and what was awaiting me when my life was over one day. And for the next few moments, as I stood before this great wall of light, I remember not wanting to leave this place of God. And as I begged to God, please, dear Lord, please let me stay here with you. Please, dear Lord. The next thing I heard this strong voice say to me, Danny, it's not your time yet. And as I heard this, and I knew it was from God, I knew that meant I'd be going back home on earth. And I'm telling you now, I was so scared of living anymore, especially after I had just went through the most godly and the most spiritual existence of my life. The day I woke in the ICU in the hospital, I remember my mom and dad standing by my bedside. But I could not remember who these people were or any of my friends or relatives. But the only thing I could remember right after waking out of that coma was the godly experience I had just went through. And I believe that I will always believe till the day I die that the Lord allowed me to experience what he wanted me to see that day, and he used that horrible accident I went through because he knew my heart would stop on that day. And that's when he used that accident to show me that he is there for me. And when this life is over, my friends out there, he, the Lord God, will be there with his arms open to you as long as we all keep our faith and trust in him. The Lord Jesus, not this world. This world is evil. But again, that's another story. I just hope sharing my experience has helped some people, because as I said a few times already, that godly experience was the realest thing that ever happened in my life. And it was no way a dream, not a dream at all. It was too consistent and too exact to ever be confused with a dream. I know more than my own name, how true my story is, and I've never felt the need to ever try and convince anyone out there to believe me or my experience. But I hope the people who read my story will believe it as the true word of God. And one more thing. I've never felt that amount of true love anywhere from anyone in my life as the love that God was allowing me to feel. His love for us is like no other love. I just wish I could explain myself better. Anyways, thank you all for allowing me to tell you my story, and God bless you all. Danny. And then the next story. It was 3 years ago. I had a blood clot on my leg due to a leg injury. I did not feel well at all. I felt heavy in my left side. It was one morning when I woke up, I noticed that I could not move my body well. It was numb. While I was scared, with difficulty I moved my body and started to run around the room, or I thought I'm running. Finally I felt tired. I sat in the kitchen for a moment. I felt very strange. I put my head down on the kitchen table and I saw myself walking through the kitchen door. I expected to walk in the living room, but instead it was very shiny golden like road. The colors were so amazing, so different, and so rich that I cannot describe. As if each pixel was alive, or they were moving or bouncing in a way. I was confused, but it was so beautiful that I decided to continue. After a few seconds, I arrived to a very beautiful meadow. The color green was the most beautiful color I'd ever seen. Sky seemed different. Color blue, oh my God, it was so peaceful and relaxing. All of a sudden, I noticed many people are there. I sensed they are waiting. And also I sensed they were uncertain of what is going to happen to them. I sensed they were worried for some actions that they had done. I do not know why or what for. I was amazed of seeing these people and the scenery. At that moment, a woman that I knew, she was my mom, not my present mom because she is alive. Maybe she was my mom from a previous life. Anyway, she approached me. We were happy seeing each other, but she told me telepathically that I had to go back because it was not my time yet. I did not want to leave, but I accepted anyway to go back. At the end of the road, it was my kitchen door again. When I entered, I saw myself putting the head down on the table, and I woke up. I saved from blood cut, fortunately, but it was an amazing experience to know that there is a life after death afterward. And another story. My mom died of cancer at a young age. The whole surreal experience of watching my young, beautiful mom slowly deteriorate within 10 months to finally witness her take her last breath in the hospital was unbearable. I don't know how to cope with the insurmountable pain of losing my best friend, and I became intensely angry and eventually extremely depressed. It was like I was trapped inside my own pain, and the world outside was a harsh and cruel place. Friends and family, I thought, cared about me seemed to vanish. Everything seemed so clear that I was alone. I was extremely depressed to the point of thoughts of suicide, but not knowing how. One night, laying in bed, I remember feeling like I was dead, that I could close my eyes and never wake up. Like I was a shell and my soul had died, and I think that's what actually happened. I was falling and falling down this black tunnel super fast, and I remember feeling really scared at how deep I was going and how black it was. I was crying out, God, or something like that, and then all of a sudden I found myself at the bottom of a dirt pit surrounded in blackness. I was terrified. I can remember feeling the dirt in my hands and started to cry and thought I was in hell. Then I glimpsed an opening to the far distant right of me like a door with sunlight coming through, and someone walking down some stone steps as if from Egypt or the desert outside. I instinctively knew it was my mom, although I could not see her. It was like two souls greeting each other. I can't explain the depth of emotion, grief, and joy I was feeling, and communicating to her without speaking. I was telling her how much I missed her and how alone I had been all the while we were embraced and floating around in a circle. My mom had come to help me through a time of grief and despair, just like she had so many times in life. I sensed it was time to go back, as I could feel myself being pulled upward towards space. I asked if I would see her again. I understood her to say, "Please try, don't give up," as in life, and the next thing I know, I'm being lifted super fast into the blackness of space through the universe and stars, and I open my eyes, and wow, I'm in my bed looking up at my ceiling, and tears are in my eyes, and I am overcome by overwhelming joy, emotion, and amazement at what I had just experienced, like I had been somewhere sacred and divine. As I was feeling all this with my eyes wide open, two circular-like energy patterns were directly above me on my ceiling. The one on the left was dark and foreboding, and the one on the right was glimmering and golden and beautiful in its design. Both were alive in their own energy. I could not keep my eyes off of them. I didn't want to blink, and I guess eventually they disappeared. To this day, I remember, and I think it was my mom telling me, that we have a choice in life, joy or pain. It's part of life, whatever we experience. Hopefully we choose joy and all that goes with it. Love, it's what saves our souls.